We are going to talk a little bit around Atlas Engine, because if you have a look at this really rather pretty looking three-dimensional map of a continent that I kind of built in about, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour or so this morning. And so I figured it might be interesting to just talk a little bit about that process, how it works, and give a bit of a sort of discussion about it. Now, it is a Steam thing, as you might imagine, and if we look in Steam here, it is going to look at the store page. I did in fact buy this. It's released on the 2nd of September by a gentleman by the name of Professor Hephaestus, which is obviously a very auspicious name, named after the Greek god of the forge, Hephaestus. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's quite pricey, so I figured I'd give it a go and take it on the chin, as you might say. And because it's only relatively recently out, it does seem to be getting a fair number of updates. So let us put young Steam away and let's talk a little bit about Atlas Engine itself. So the basic menu you come to, so let me just save this project over here because I'll just stash it, and then I'm going to create a new project. When you start like this. So literally this is the view you get. And there's this procedural random seed over here, which does facilitate sharing, right? So let's stick something in here, which does mean you can just share that code around if you are just using the generated one. But the UI of this, the UX of it, if you will, is a little basic, and that's fine. It's an early app. Is it a $30 app? No, I think that's a bit cheeky. But putting that bit aside, we're just going to talk a little bit about the core functionality and what we think. So let's start with the top left section over here. So obviously you've got a menu, new project, save project as, load project, export options, which gives you a series of different things you can export as, which is pretty cool. This is quite nice. Including masks, which does mean that having now generated this thing, you can start bringing them in as different layers into your Photoshop and various other things, and you can do it from if you want to come in here and you want to get a close-in view of your thing, I believe you can still do it. No, you can't. It's only top-down. Okay, that's fine. Finally, a bunch of settings, which are really about how the map is illuminated in many ways, time of day, allowing you to change hue on different biomes. We'll talk about the biomes in a second. Adding clouds or removing them, giving a atmosphere to provide a blur effect. The use or the lack thereof of lens flare, and I'll show you that a bit later. The use of bloom, which is really the bright bleeding into dark, as it says here, but in essence, if you have a large snowy area, the area around it gets lit up. And then chromatic aberration, which is as it's saying, you're faking the similar effect of what happens at the edge of a camera lens. And I think maybe one of these days we'll talk a little bit about sort of photography and stuff. Maybe I'll do that on the Ramji channel. If you're watching and you are interested, now is a great time to have a look over here and either drop us a follow down below, a like, a subscribe, a comment, something, hate you, love you, something like that, just to know that you guys are, and you folks in fact, are listening and out there. Now, things that are next up here. So we have random seed, which will basically is like a generator function. We'll come back to this in a second. Resolution. Now, resolution is exactly what you might think, in that it exists to upscale and downscale the detail in the model you have. So what do I mean by that? Well, let me go here. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide chat. I don't love you, chat, but I just... Yeah, cool. And all of a sudden you can see now we are substantially more detailed. You know, the peaks, the troughs, the amount we can zoom in, you know, it's significantly more detailed. Obviously you can basically right click allows you to kind of zoom around. Scroll wheel brings you in and out of the map. One of the things it says is if you're using a high resolution, it's probably a good idea to do your work in a lower resolution and then flip to a higher resolution. But if you hit random seed, you'll see that this island changes. And so if you are, you know, if you are starting a campaign or you're doing a one shot or something like that, you know, you're in pretty decent shape just from the start, right? Let me show you. If I turn off, so this is the top-down view, right? And you can see that is the lens flare effect you're having right there. And let me go back to the menu settings over here, and I'll show you. It's time of day. Let's put a bit of where the location of the sun is. Now, I suspect this is done in Unity or something similar, and as a result has you know, the concept of where your light source is and what's occluding it and everything else. And so you have a very simple plane, and then you're able to provide these objects to it. So really the magic source here is in modifying the plane that you're on with the objects and entities that you put on it. So, however, so that's your time of day effect, your clouds on and off here. You can see atmosphere. As you zoom into the atmosphere, there's less of an occlusion effect, but it's still there. Coming back to, as we said, lens flare. So if you can see here, that's the lens flare. Oh, sorry, the bloom. Sorry, bloom is off, and therefore the lens flare is significantly less. If bloom is on, you can see the bleed is more. Interestingly enough, the lens flare itself does go away when the bloom is off, right? So it just seems to be that seems to be a bug, but that's what happened when the bloom is off. And then finally, chromatic aberration. Just you can see at the edges, it just changes the ever so slightly. You can see there's very, very subtle effect. So, good morning, anybody that's just tuning in right now. So far, so okay. So let's just drop this back down to, well, let's actually have a quick look here. So we can see that we're sort of sitting quite happily at, I've got a 3070 in this machine, so it's, you know, it's reasonable. And we're sitting quite happily at 42%, you know, pumping away a bit of speed. Dropping this down, and you can see that's already a significant effect, you know, in terms of how that went down from 47% down to sort of 30% in terms of consumption. Obviously, using it changes, but your baseline is lower. Pop it back up again here, and you can see all of a sudden I'm back up here, and then I start moving around. Does it seem? Yeah, it does. 57%, 55%. So it's obviously more intensive the higher res. No surprises there, right? So the advice it gives you is to do the majority of your work at a lower res, and we start running into some of the quirks here. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit around these options, island and continent. Now, it seems that the way this works is island is centered in the middle of the map and continent is centered in the upper left corner. And this is, I guess, so that you can have, if you're doing a continental landmass, you've got a large amount of sea form, whereas island is surrounded by water. This is a stylistic map effect, but I think it's really so that the procedural generator here knows where 0,0 is, if you want to look at it that way, as in where it's where on the map is its default position to spread out from. So I'm putting this down at 512 because that gives me, my GPU doesn't die. But I think I'm going to start with a brand new map. We are going to use Sculpt which is the way that we affect the world. And you'll see when we do this, move this over here, you can see that there's all these options here. And you'll start to see some of the problems, as it were. And they might not be, problems might be a strong word. I would say the unintuitive user interface doesn't help here. So you can see, look, I've just whited out that page. It would be nice to be able to say, hey, everybody, I'm just going to blank it all together. But, whiting out that page, there we go. I have now there should be no land masses on here. Let me go and take a look on the world view. Nothing but a little bit of bloom. And then in the highest of reds, nothing at all. Right, so there we go. We have a flat sea. So I would then expect that as I began to add land masses, so let's say that I'm going to add a very simple landmass in the center. It's island, so in the center. So here we go. So I'm adding a very simple, nicely, somewhat circular landmass. Cool. The more landmass I added, the more something would be true. That's not the case. Instead, what's happened is whatever was procedurally generated beforehand sort of sits underneath the model, and therefore it is a different layer. And that then just extrudes up. So the way I think this is done is that there are multiple layers in the, as you look down on this, and then the model kind of, you view all of the model stacked on top of each other. So if I go back to my world view here, you can see, oh look, I now have a approximate circle. It's not an actual circle, and that's fine. So I'm going to go back here, and I want my place to be circular. So I'm going to use a smaller brush. And I'm going to try and fill this area in here. I want my world to be more circular, so I shall add a bit of finesse. And this is where my first concern comes, because I just did something there, but nothing happened. And there's no reason given why there's nothing happened. So it could be because actually, at 512K resolution, everything is too granular. You're not allowed to affect the world. So let's up the resolution up to 4K and watch everything, get busy. And I did that. I'm gonna see if I can make my circular space here. And no, you see there's absolutely nothing happening in this area here. So instead I'm gonna go and hang out over here and just hold and see, maybe it just needs to be held for a while, like a sad child. Nothing. So I then discovered that although you have these awesome different views, and I think it is worth pointing out, these are super cool views. The ability to go from a world view you can kind of drill into, in this case, at this 512 pixel resolution, it is a little bit like, a 1990s game. Similarly here, maybe a 1980s game. Topographic view is very nice, and satellite view, okay, cool. This is the one we normally sculpt. I'm a bit bummed because I really wanted to put some land here, right? I mean, that's what I wanted. So what I then discover is, if I put some land here, I can emerge some land out of this area, and then it grows to it. So there's a sort of way that this sort of this works, which is not, despite the fact it looks like it's a paint tool up here, it isn't. It's sort of it's a way of saying, hey, under this area here, do something. But it's never been very clear about what it's going to do, or whether you're going to like the outcome, which is a bit annoying, actually. So I'll come here. I'm going to add some mountains. And the reason I find it annoying, just so that you know, is because actually the rest of it's really cool. Because look, I've just built like a little caldera thing surrounding this, that you've got this area here, you've got this sort of mountainous region. Got this hidden valley that's sort of like hiding down here. And so as a map maker, as somebody that enjoys this, right, this is a huge amount of detail that is really, really, you know, I compare this to Incarnate, and Incarnate is a two-dimensional mapping bit of software, which I love, as people know who've watched the stream before. And like the level of complexity and power that Incarnate has, right, this is nothing by comparison to it, but it could be. Right? This has got certain features that I really, really, you know, appreciate. I love this idea of being able to, you know, manipulate the world and see the effects on it in this way. Because here's the thing, having now created this plateau area, I actually want to raise it, but I don't think I can. I can't flatten an area. So topologically, although I have this sort of like lovely topology here, right? And I want to make this a sort of high steps kind of area, you know, surrounded by mountains of all sides. I've got no option to do so, which to me is a shame. So let's say I make it a little deserty steppe area up here, like Gobi Desert type of thing. And I want to give this a little bit of, you know, coastal aridity. Who doesn't love a bit of coastal aridity? That's what I say. And then over here, we're going to say that a little bit more mountain. And you can see very quickly you have a pretty cool world. Let's give ourselves you know, another couple of minutes. We're going to put a couple of islands over here. Let's call them barrier islands, if you will. So we'll put them over here. We'll go, okay, well, I want one like that, and one like this, and then one like this. And they provide, you know, shelter from hurricanes and various other storms. Possibly there was some cataclysm, because all D&D maps need a cataclysm, and we all love a good cataclysm. And so this thing is a remnant of an ancient sort of civilization that did too much. So maybe I need to put some gaps in here, you know, to represent the ragged and torn landscape. And so this is nice, right? And it is nice that there is some you know, entropy, or sort of the way that these sort of islands are drawn is not you know, with straight borders. Instead, they're actually done with a certain level of cragginess that would actually be a bit more realistic. You could imagine this being a place. You know, now all of a sudden this has turned into King Kong's Island, which is pretty rad. Okay, cool. Now we have a series of barrier islands. So, what does this look like in high res? If you ask me, I would say it looks pretty damn good. Even just looking at it here in high res is pretty damn good. I want to change a couple of things. I want to change some forests and add a few things here. So I'm going to so the way this works is it's left click to add, right click to remove. So I've clicked on desert, and I'm getting rid of the desert area here. And in a moment or so that will update, because I'm high res, so I'm just going to drop back down to my low res. And then I'm going to do the same thing with getting rid of my Arctic area here, and I'm going to get rid of my mountainous area that's down here, because that doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to just twiddle my mountains here, because I don't like the way that they're just so blocky. That's the other thing that is a bit frustrating, which is that everything is, when you do create a blocky little area, it completely blocks it out, which is a real shame, because I don't think that's the intention. This is clearly a like, as a tool goes, this is a tool that has a lot of potential to it. Oops, and you can see, there you go. And Control Z doesn't work, which is a little annoying. So as a result, when you get rid of something, you've lost it entirely, and then you have to go and recreate it. And then whatever little bits of artistic stuff you did to be able to make it look nice have now gone. So what was I doing this for? I was doing this because I wanted, on the north-hand side, to have this area actually be this desert, first of all, because that would be about right. And then I'm going to paint Arctic over the top of it. And again, there's very little sophistication in that. I'm going to add forest on this side. To represent all these forested. Kong Island is forested, heavily forested, right? There we go, nicely done. This is the ancient home of the High Elves, destroyed in their eternal fight against whatever tropey thing you like, or the ancient home of the orcs, cruelly destroyed by the dwarves. I mean, it doesn't really matter what particular narrative you want to bring out. It's all good. Put a little bit of mountainous area here. And we'll cut through those areas there. And, starting to look nice, right? It's getting a bit interesting. Cool. Let's see what that looks like when I bump it back up to full res. Hit save over here as stream. Yeah, so what are we calling it? So we call it Kong Island. There you go. Done. Save. So, looks pretty good. I mean, if I say so myself, I'm sure there's things that I'd like to change. Maybe a bit more of an inlet over here to represent the destruction. Maybe a bit more one over here and there. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. I'll add maybe a mountain area there, mountain there, a bit more there. So actually, this whole rugged mountainous area has been destroyed. As you can see, as soon as I started doing that in 4K, it started to complain quite reasonably. I'm not upset about that. So let's talk a little bit about the different map types. So as you saw here, I've now added these things in 4K, and you can see. I'll have to stop fiddling. You can see, however, that on Kong Island, if you go to topographic, you get a topography view, and it does have a concept of very high and low, which is nice. So you can see here these are high, and if I wanted to, let me say, take an area like this and make it higher. This is, again, as I was saying, the thing that's sort of difficult, because I want to say, hey, look, I want a really, really steep ridge along here. That to me looks like a steep ridge. When you go back to the satellite view, nothing's changed. And so, a bit frustrating. You can't rely on the tool to behave in a certain way, which is a little bit annoying, because I think that's, let's be honest, that is pretty fundamental to what people want. It's like the premise of point and click is I point at something, I click it, and it does something, right? So that's the thing. This is a topographic view, very nice though, very useful, can understand what's happening. Then you have a hand-drawn map, which I think is lovely. It's very old style, insert on the first page of a fantasy novel style of hand-drawn map. The only thing that's missing is the ability to add annotations and various other things, a compass rose. But I like this a lot. I actually think that the way that when you make the changes to this map, I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to go here. I'm going to add some land. We're going to add a little sort of small island chain up here, let's say. You can see, like, despite doing that, it takes a long time to update, because even though this is a simple line-drawn map, it's doing it at 4K, and you can see that's not what I expected to happen. See, I expected there to actually for something to appear there. So I'll drop back down to a lower res. It'll take some time to think about it. Ah, there we go. It's appearing. So I'll drop back to a lower res. I'll put some stuff there. It appears. Great. And now when I go to topography, you can still see that it's there. You get a hand drawn, it's there, but it's much lower res. And then you go back to 4K. And so you can start to see some of my reservations about this tool. Okay, that's that done. That's now generated in 4K. Very nice looking. Okay, go here. And, hey everybody, we've got a Dungeons and Dragons map. How cool is that? Hand that to your players. And, that's very, very rad, right? That is a pretty neat outcome. And being able to flip from one to the other means that, you can, if you're a streamer, if you want to show your players what's going on, if you want to have a very pretty intro view, you have this multi-view. So, I want to say there's more, but there isn't. What do I mean by that? Well, look, you can add rivers, you can do things, right? It's not to say that this thing is basic. It's not, right? You can do some stuff, and here goes some rivers coming down from the mountain, and there we go. But as I said earlier, it's not particularly deterministic, meaning that you saw me click that stuff, and as far as I can tell, bugger all happened. So I click it again, and I think something happens. There you go. Look, you can see that I think something's happening there. So if I click in random places, random things might happen. Yeah, see that there's some stuff happened over here, adding rivers. But if I do over here, very little happens. And so there's a long way to go in my mind on this product. And that is a shame, because I feel that for $30, as much as I'm happy to pass that $30 out, one, to be able to do a review and show it to you folks, and second, to be able to play around with a tool like this, it is a little basic. That's the conclusion I'm going to come to. That's the end of this section of the stream. I am going to take a very short pause, go offline, come back online and go through another bit of content. But, well, I say go offline, I'm probably just going to take a quick short break, actually. And then we'll come back with the next section. Cheers! So, Atlas Engine's there, and then I'm going to pull up instead a different one, because I've got a bunch of them on Steam. So let's just do a quick review of a couple of them, because it's been a while since I've brought them up. Some of them are useful. Some of them are just interesting and procedural. So Fizz says, didn't seem worth $35, but exporting it into a 3D video editor, adding settlements, a path traveled, some banded names, effects like snow falling or battles would make a great flyby intro. And that's exactly right. The thing that concerns me is that by that point, you've already done so much in terms of the editing of the 3D landscape that there's probably better tools out there. So let's see if we can find some. There's a few different bits of nonsense that I want to experiment with, but before we go too far into the random realms, let's start with one called Wildshape. And I've been tracking this one for a while. It's also on the Steams. It's also, I believe, one that is out there to be purchased. It's early access. You can see it's here. It's $19, and I think this is more attempting to get into the sort of similar space that Tailspire is in. So let's have a look now. Wildscape. I haven't used this in a few months. The last time I used it, I was rather disappointed, and I will hold back on that disappointment, and instead we're going to pretend this is a brand new thing, because they said made lots of changes. So Wildshape uses a new file system, all maps will be saved in the maps folder, no longer necessary to export them. Sure, let's go to it. Early access, yeah, and that's the other thing. Wildscape is definitely denoted early access, and so I'm a bit more patient with it again. Okay, got it. So let us multiplayer, didn't know that. So let's start. I like the fact that the default scenario is the campfire, which is always a bit of fun. Hans loves a good campfire. And we go to here. So we're going to, let's just do should we build a new map? What's this? These are sort options. Let's build a new map. We're going to create a new map, and let's do a randomly generated map. We'll do a large one. Call it random per stream. We'll do a random village. Okay, and then create it. Okay, so far, so unintuitive an interface. Right? Okay, I see. Random clicking and gets us there. Well, at least they have a nice screenshot on the page. Okay, spawning objects. Similar kind of 3D map view. You can zoom right in, see down to the blades of grass, which is pretty cool. Do like the fact that the zoom's got better. So far, so better. One of the things I discovered last time was it was very, very hard for me to understand what the hell was going on. As in, the interaction with it as a editor was confusing for me. So let's see how this works. So, okay, shift full square, control mirror the wall. This tool's in work in progress. Okay, so... Okay, all right, so the wall is there. So I built a wall. What else does that let me do? Control, mirror the wall. Oh, okay, nice, not bad. So that is so far allowing me to... It's got better. And it actually has tooltips, which is nice. Still not quite explaining what the hell it's supposed to do, though. So we're running into the same problem I ran into previously, which is, whilst I like the fact this tool exists, it isn't actually giving me any feedback around what it's supposed to be doing. So I'm expecting, having clicked mountain here, to be getting a mountain, but I think I would only get a mountain if I'm in the right mode. Am I in the right mode? Form terrain. Control lower, shift smooth, alt flatten. Okay, so this is flattening it. Oh yeah, look at that. I flattened some stuff. That's cool. That's cool. Okay. So control to lower it. Oh, okay. So smoothing it over does nothing. Okay, good. But then there's no make it taller. Erase objects. River tool. Yep. Same problem I had last time, which is insanely unintuitive. I thought that too, Fitz. Oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. I've got some mountain stuff happening now. See that deformation? Look at that. That's cool. How do I see what that looks like in free move? Does that help me? Nope. There we go. Slowly growing a big hill. Okay, so now how do I know what my hill looks like? Let's go to cinema mode. I feel like I'm using a one of those tools from, 1995, which is It's so confusing. It's such a shame, actually, because it seems like the kind of tool that, like, if I could just immediately... Yeah, UX is king. You're absolutely right, mate. Like, how on earth... Okay, I've saved the map. That's great. So what's that? Token menu. I can add tokens. That's really nice. I can add a barghest. What if I want to... How do I add the barghest? New token. It's there. Is it here? Oh my god. Okay, it's a centaur. Cool. Where's it go then? Oh. Alright, try the fourth button from the right on the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one? This one. Okay, help. Tab. An end, of course. Tab. Nope. End. Nope. Maybe it's only meant to be top down. Like, it does seem to sell the isometric. I mean, look, this is quite nice. I mean, completely unnecessary to drop it from that height, but okay. Good roll. Okay, so that's there. And now I have a centaur. Again, good looking centaur, but how do I go back to help? Just help's disappeared. Okay, dice roll menu. Walk mode is end. Nope. Shift is there. Camera. FPS. Okay, shift to fly faster. Was D, Q, and E to look around. So maybe I need to be in cam mode. Am I in free move or top down? I'm in free move. No. I'm in free move. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Look at that. The fizz cannon. Okay, so let's go back into... How do I zoom out then? Alright, so if I'm in cam mode, free move, and I hold the right, move the mouse to look around, fast speed, shift, free move. Okay, so the only thing I've got so far is the ability to move using the middle mouse button. No, nothing else seems to work. Whilst he does something else. Yeah, it looks awesome. That's actually really cool. The strange ponytails that are coming from each of the mains. That's a really nice touch. It's a really interesting modeling thing. I love it. I wish I could rotate around it. Hang on one sec. Maybe I need to do this. Ah, here we go. Nope. Yeah, Q seems to open and close the menu. E does nothing. So, despite the cam mode saying, so this is in free cam mode, doesn't work. WASD to move around. WASD does not let me move around. So, okay, this is in free cam mode apparently. Yeah, okay, WASD now lets me move around. And then shift, I think you were saying. Space? No, space doesn't let me do it. Ah, I have to hold space and do the WASD thing. Okay, alright. Now we're cooking with gas. Now we're looking. Here we go. All right, good. Well, it's only taken 20 minutes or so to figure out how to use the bloody thing, but we're killing right now. Okay, cool. So, all right, okay, so now let's say I want to give my friend place on grid active right now. Oh my god! I feel like I'm failing a math test. Yeah, exactly. I feel like a gang member by the time I master this program. Exactly. It's like, yo, I will use this program because by the end of it, god damn it. Because it is cool. It's cool to be able to, like, you know, build terrain like this. Look at this. This is what that other tool needs. The ability to, like, you know, genuinely affect and shape things. Really, Atlas and Wildshape need to have, you know, some sort of, like, long discussion about things. Because there is so much that's quite cool about this tool in terms of its engine, but that is horrific about it in terms of the user interface. And conversely, the user interface of Atlas isn't exactly great, right? But it's not horrific. And you can kind of figure out what you want to do, it's just you can't do very much. Okay, this clearly taps out at that point as well. Okay, interesting. Right, central doesn't fall, but it's alright. Very cool. Alright, so that is Wildshape. It is not anywhere near where we want it to be. Quickly looking at the various options. Still needs a lot of work going for it. You can have a second screen, which I guess means that you can have a isometric view and a top-down view at the same time, which seems like a very specific feature and function to create. Damn, just bugged out, just bailed on me. Okay, all right. So that's a big NO, Ghost Rider, for Wildshape. Yeah, I think we've got some others. So let me just pull out some other things. So we're going to talk about. This is not really designed to be a build-up. This is instead one of those types of games that I like to play, which is just a very, very relaxing sort of like game. But it instead has what I think is actually a really, really cute idea to it, which is this idea of being able to, you know, just build with one click. As ridiculous as this idea may seem, I like this. It's sort of this idea that, you know, I can, because when you're building square by square in a D&D map anyway, it's not like you're not thinking, well, okay, what's going on here? Well, I want to build something that's roughly like a long, you know, road. I don't know if I can. Here's the grid. Some kind of cool stuff happening there. Settings. Okay. Keyboard and mouse. Right click to move. Left click to add. Right click to remove, left click to rotate. Okay. So this at least has incredibly good UX by comparison. Okay. So then having now built like a little central area here, let's then build a little tower on it. Yeah, I don't think you can actually use it. It's very, very cute. I have a soft spot for this sort of game. When they first came out, I thought, wow, I could actually, it would be so good to be able to build a D&D map based on this, right? In practice, it doesn't seem to have the reality of what you'd need to actually be usable, but it's very cute. And so there you go. So not a thing, but cute all the same. Cool. All right, so let's exit here. Thank you very much. This one's called Dorf Romantik, I believe. Nice, relaxing game, but doesn't actually, like, it's a fun game, but I don't think it'll actually help us in any meaningful way. No, I don't quit. I want to resume my game here. So this is the idea of you have a certain number of tiles from which to generate, your world, and the goal of the game is to, in essence, use that procedural generation to be able to do something interesting. I don't really feel that it has a place in the sort of D&D games sort of territory, as in I don't think it really is going to be particularly helpful to build a world or do anything useful with it. But it's cute, and it's sort of showing you where things are going in terms of being able to have a game that just procedurally pops up and generates this kind of stuff, which is very, very neat. As you can see here, it's like, oh look, I've got ships and stuff. Isn't that nice? What do we got here? A bit more coastline, and it's quite relaxing. You can sort of spend a few hours just like happily bimbling away doing this. Didn't cost anything. Very chill. Nice little, good fun indie game. What do we got here? We've got a little, and you get little bonuses for going certain directions and everything else. This is called Dorf Romantik. Dorf Romantik. But again, whilst you can see there's additional level ups and stuff, I haven't really done a great deal on this game. It is no more, a map designer than the next one, which is a shame. Let's have a quick look and see what's the other one I've got. So Atlas Architect starts with this idea that says, here we go, here's my world, it's entirely blank. I am going to create some land, and I'm going to, what do I do with my land? So I basically, in this case, I populate each hex in turn, which is actually pretty neat. So, and in this case, you have a lot of control over what you're doing. So you can undo it with the right mouse button, you can do it with the left mouse button, you can use Q to rotate, Q and E kind of rotate yourself in and out. WASD as usual, you zoom in and out using the mouse wheel. I don't believe you can do, you can do flood fills. Let's see how this works. No. But you can give yourself a bunch of labels, you can create views, you can see things as a map. It's got a lot of substance to it, right? This is very much what I think the other one, the other atlas could be, perhaps. Let's go back to the regular default here. Now the question is, so what have we got? So move camera, right? WASD, drag the left mouse button or drag mouse or QE. Randomize props to middle click, scroll wheel, okay, left click, right click, and space. Cool. So I'm going to get rid of my hexagons. So we're right at the edge of the map here. So this is our known world, and so in our known world, you can see here it's rather a large space. One thing we don't have is the ability to do a large amount of space at once. But let's. So to create, as we said earlier, the large island chain that we wanted, quite tough. Because there's no click and drag option. Does not appear to be any click and drag option at the very least. So you have to do each one in turn. So it's probably quite good for doing smaller areas. So let's try and see if we can get a few things done here, get a bit of land built out, and see what other types of okay, here's our little island nation. Cool. There's our little island nation. Not bad. I am now going to create some higher ground. Okay. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do it in the middle. We'll create some mountains. So mountainous regions around here. So far, so mountainous. Cool. Right, so now we have some cliffs and craggy areas. What else have we got? What else can we do? So let's get some snowy bits. Okay. All right, and then what else have we got? We've got some savanna, some plainsy areas down here. Okay, okay, not doing too badly. All right, so far so good. And then we're going to get a bit of swamp over here. Got like a swampy area, kind of grim looking. Swamp should probably be at ground level. Wouldn't make sense, does it? Then we'll get some dead trees. Cool. Then what are we going to do? Well, is there any... mountain. Mountain sounds good. There we go. Oh, look at that. So, now we're starting to cook a little bit with gas. We've got some... got a few mountains going on. You've got a few... You know... Oh, go away, go away. So now let's say we want to have a nice little city in the mountain. How do we do that? Say over here. It's going to be a little mountain city. And then we're going to give it... Cool. There's our little mountain city, and then I'm going to go... We need some farmland first of all, so let's give it some farmland. Raised up high on this plateau. So high farmland, okay. Okay. And one thing it does, which is quite nice, is that it creates. How do I get some lighting change here? That's fine. Where's the lighting? Okay, there goes the biome for that. Then, oh, there's a bit of a hole still there, is there? Cool, so now let's get our city in here. Well, there's different city options. Let's go here. Oh, hey, look at that. It's our little mountain city. It's almost alpine, isn't it? So as you can see, there's a we're getting a bunch of different detail here. But in essence, the game has made it for us. We have our little elven city, or a little mountain city here. And we can be as arbitrary as we like about how large it is. It's got a, I'm going to give it a little harbour over here. Let's go with city harbour down here. And so now it's a bit more of a, okay, makes a bit more sense because it's a city. And so then we're going to give it a road. And then we're going to give it some hills, I feel. It's not reasonable for me to be a mountainous city without there being some sort of hills nearby. Okay, and then what else are we going to do? We will say park. It's a nice green city. Very nice. What else we got here? I think that's probably close to. Let's get. I love a good volcano, mate. Who doesn't love a volcano? Wouldn't be proper if you're if you hadn't actually built it in a volcanic chain, would it? Cool. So then we have a volcanic chain with this fun little city nearby, and you know that's not bad. So it's a lot of effort to build this, and the question comes back to say, well, have we won anything by doing it? What's the win here? Let's see if we can put a dwarven city here. Little dwarven enclave high up in the mountain. Okay. Allowing you access to the dwarves. So you got the dwarven city up there, you got a lower city down here. All right, cool. So now what happens? Well, I want to look at this as a map. That's pretty cool. Gotta say, that's pretty neat. It's just a filter, right? But it's a nice filter. I feel this is what the other one should have been. You could really use this for a, you know, an intro sequence, a kind of a view of like, really get right down into, you know, where people are and what's going on. The ability to make this a good life for an animator, to be able to pull out like that, that's pretty rad. You know, that is a very, very cute and interesting little bit of software. So, here we go. Welcome to the city of Smugdin, deep in the heart of who knows where. Yeah, not bad at all. What's the other view look like? Let's go to topographic. Not particularly interesting, but still there. Height map, okay, yeah, sure, useful for doing things, I'm sure. White map, okay, nice. You could probably imagine people could probably paint that really nicely. And then you have the default map. Very cute little game. Very, very cute. So having the compass like that, turning this on this way, we'll turn the compass back on here. You know, it might be very interesting to do a view of like, it would be very, very interesting to do Tailspire like this. Could you imagine that? And that would be nuts. To be able to get to here and then flip into a Tailspire mode of being able to go, cool, well, I want to be able to move miniatures around. I wonder if I can. Let's see. Very rad. Okay, so we'll save here. Save. And the idea being that each of these is a different level. And I've got to say, I think that's a really, really fun little bit of software. Well done, folks who made Atlas Architect, who are Daniel Rashidi at Rashidi Interactive. Well done indeed. You are the winner of today's random map app. They've built a bit of software called Crooked Kingdom, which appears to be a board game, a game of deception and skill. But I'd like to say well done to them. That's pretty cool. Have I got any others that I want to quickly go through? I don't think so. I think that's probably it for this stream. I want to say thank you very much, folks, for tuning in. This was a brief view of Atlas Architect and this game here, which was called Atlas Engine was the previous one. We looked at Townscaper. We looked at Dorf Romantik. We looked at Wildshape, very disappointing and yet filled with possibility. And Atlas Architect itself. I don't think I've got any others that are along similar lines. Let me just quickly look through my... That is not something that's out just yet, but BattleMap Studio does look interesting. It's all the things you'd want in a battle map, so far so good. I mean, it's the same things again and again though in this particular case, so I do wonder if it's just actually going to be the isometric projection piece. But that's nice. Okay, the fact that it uses hexes is pretty decent. That I'm not sure I believe. But I love a bit of upbeat music. It seems pretty cool. Alright. Could be good. Good luck, BattleMap Studio. That seems pretty rad. And so we will see how that goes. On that note, I'm going to bid you all a good morning, a good day, or a good evening, wherever you are. And look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks, folks. Cheers. Bye.